I'm not too.
Oh,
So you
that's
mean so?
good. This is good. Okay. So I have it side by side. All right. And
Okay.
I'm recording. Hey, you want to jump right into this?
Yes, let's go right into it.
Okay. So we about to make it up as we go. So
That's fine.
what I'm doing here, Anthony, is I'm gonna record us. And I guess I'm gonna also treat this like we're talking to people at the same time. Right.
Okay.
And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna share something that we've been talking about. I don't even know how to have this conversation. So let's just like candidly jump in it and then help me to craft this conversation at the same time. First of
Absolutely.
all, since we know we're going to post this, let me introduce myself. I am Daymond. I'm Daymond the brand. I brand myself as technically inclined, creatively driven. I specifically have a tagline and I say, I exist to inspire. That's part of my whole branding experience that I give to people. And so we know each other because you're in a mentoring relationship with me through my brand called Pluralpreneur, right? So you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we're gonna try to treat this like something people can learn from. So in
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. So as he introduced himself, Damon the brand entrepreneur, I am Anthony Murphy, new owner and operator of Peer Merge, thanks to Flowpreneur and Damon the brand.
yeah. Hey, I
So
got something
that's how
for
we
you.
do.
Oh,
Hey,
look,
that's
I
how.
got something for you.
This is cars. I'm efficient. See, that's the things
Hey,
I
keep,
want people.
keep talking and introducing yourself because I'm gonna open it up. I haven't opened it
Oh
because
man, this
I,
is
I
great.
want to see your business cards and I want to show them to you before I deliver them to you. But go ahead, finish introducing
Okay.
yourself.
No, that was pretty much it. I work in the social service arena. My main goal, especially with the new business that I started with Peer Merge, is to have intentional connections with individuals.
Yeah,
Anybody that's looking for someone to connect with and work, and I try to line out the steps to how they do that. And the most important thing is I want individuals to understand you must, and I say this, you must optimize your network. Everything
yeah,
that you need is at your disposal.
absolutely. Anthony, how much do you want to dive into this conversation? Because I know you have a lot that you bring to the table. I mean, we can make this about you starting Peer Merge, but part of you explaining what Peer Merge is giving people an indication of who you are. And I know we did a full door conversation. Is that something that you're willing to discuss as we kind of fold that in with Peer Merge?
Absolutely. That's one of the foundations for peer merge,
Okay.
was my own personal experience.
Yeah. Oh, look, Peer
Oh,
Merge.
let me see. Who designed those? Who did those?
It looks backward, right? But I mean, but once you get
Oh
them,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's
Oh,
nice. It's
that's
really,
awesome.
it's really catchy.
Ain't no
It
ain't
gets
no
your
turning
attention
back
real
now.
fast.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let
Yes,
me
and
listen. Anthony was trying to be modest, so yeah. I feel like I'm about to turn on. So y'all, listen. Anthony is being modest. I met Anthony at a City of Dallas event. I think what it was is a culmination of my brand kind of stepping in front of me and then Anthony knowing that he wanted to create a brand for himself, right? So then we ended up being in the same space at the same time. Um, Anthony introduced himself to me. I was there representing City of Dallas District Number 4, and I'm one of the commissioners. So I go to the community events. I do stuff that I tell people to do. I try to get involved with my community, and I actually get involved in the community, and I do that because I exist to inspire, right? So I'm actually just doing stuff to show people an example of what I think it takes to kind of like live in your brand and be yourself and be your best you. But long story short, Anthony is being his best him as well, following all of the sort of the principles that I teach, right? And it's all about taking your experience in life and then molding that and then stepping into your light, even given the good and the bad that you have in your life, right? So speaking of the good and the bad, kind of talk to that. talk to that. Let's bring up how we like the conversation we had on closed door conversation.
Yes. In terms of the good or bad, it's funny how God will use your mess, as they say, to bless. So, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Grew up, I guess you would say, middle class, and it existed. I don't know if that term is even here anymore.
Yeah.
Very loving parents. Typical American dream. Went to college, graduated, got married, and I got into drugs. And the use of drugs riddled my life. Um, it's detriment to anyone's story who's probably used drugs for a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
Got into some legal trouble. Then eventually, probably at the age of, let's say, maybe 28, 29 is when I first made the attempt to try to, do something about my addiction. I've been to countless treatment centers, over 15 different treatment centers. Um, and the message remained the same. Like I had to learn how to remain humble and vulnerable and allow people to teach me how to live. And throughout those experiences, one thing I noticed was a lot of these blessings and opportunities that are uh, being presented are through people, and I've always had the desire to, so I've about 20 years, close to 20 years, I'm getting old, social service experience.
Yeah.
And when I came to the city of Dallas, I, I, I was always just intrigued by how the city ran, just how I'm intrigued with processes. So as Damon mentioned, when I met you at the meeting, as I always give this story, the councilwoman was doing her speech, and at the end, she made it a point to tell everyone, if you don't know this guy, you should meet him. And I was like, I say I'm gonna dart over there without him letting me leave the room. So uh, just going to those meetings, seeing how I can be involved, and meeting you has definitely been a blessing. And just working out the process of me living in my dream, as you mentioned. What I
Yeah.
mean by dream, I think understanding your strengths can be derived from your weaknesses. And I know
Right.
it sounds uh, counter, I guess, whatever words you want to use, but that's where the lessons are learned when you
Yeah.
fall short. Because successful people are people who just simply did not give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Failures in everyone's, and
That's
failures
absolutely
defined
right.
differently. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's defined differently between different people. You
Yeah.
know,
I think success can also be defined by consistency. Like
yes,
if you just have a path of consistency that you're always trying to travel in life, it will lead you to success. I mean, there is no other way than to be successful if you have a consistent path to anything, right? If you're always trying to definitely develop that pattern of meeting the goals that you have in front of you. So that kind of takes me to our conversation. I guess, kind of talk to some of the mentor. How you think that's going? Like, how do you think our mentoring is going? Our mentoring.
I'm glad you asked that question. I have a no, yes, the speech.
Is that the
But
speech?
no, I'm just I like to thank Damon's efforts for being so hard on me. It's made me a billionaire. I'm like the
Yeah.
NFL draft. I'm here now because of you. No,
Yeah,
the mental system.
I'm gonna make you a millionaire.
Right. You know what? One thing I do like that I actually got to know you as a person in your life before the mentoring started. So I
Yeah,
kind of had good a good gauge of the challenging part of you. And it's
yeah,
not a challenging because I've seen you in the in on the boards too as well. And
yeah,
you are always the one that asks the question that
yeah.
I'll be
It's
looking
kind of funny.
around like
I've only asked like uh 70% of the questions too. So I'm trying to remember I coach branding, so I'm trying not to tarnish my brand too quickly.
I understand. But you have to ask the
Yeah,
difficult questions to get to
yeah,
you got to address what's not being said. Because
yeah,
you can talk and you can hear the words in between, but the coaching is doing well. So one
yeah,
thing I like, you found out with the coaching, I was able to take my strengths and be able to operate in them. What I mean is, one thing I knew that I enjoyed helping people,
yeah,
but I could not for the life of me understand how do you make money simply off helping people. What does that look like?
Yeah.
How will I roll that out? How would you brand yourself as somebody that help someone?
Yeah.
The coaching is one thing I like is the systematic process of achieving goals.
Right.
You won't let me go to three or four, five or six unless one and two are complete.
Correct.
And
That's absolutely right.
sometimes it might, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I like the best. Very systematic and um, it's very inspirational because when I receive the coaching and go out, to say into the world, uh, and learn and execute and get to apply, because I noticed, well, I didn't tell you, yeah, I noticed my conversations are starting to change with people that say they want to do a business. I'm finding
Yeah.
myself asking them the same questions you asked me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
but
that's a,
it's
that's a blessing and a curse. That's why I turned it into a business for me. Because otherwise, like had it if this wasn't a business, I think I would get frustrated. Because you're right, and I'm glad we did start to develop a friendship on the side of mentoring so that you can kind of see how my mind works. And oh, and then let me clarify. I'm glad we're talking about this because I want to clarify what we're doing it for people watching this video. So I actually have a coaching platform and a mentoring component. And so whenever we got together, I decided to kind of relax the coaching and pull in the mentoring component, right? But sometimes and we said this in the very beginning, we said I was gonna go into the mentoring, but just by nature, I naturally go into a coaching mode. So I knew I would
yeah,
pull that into some of our mentoring sessions. But what we're doing is mentoring, and in a mentoring session or with mentoring sessions, this is what I always tell people. The best mentors you can have are the ones where the mentor-mentee relationship is mutually beneficial. So I should
yeah,
be learning something from you just like you're learning something from me. Because as we get through mentoring, you're actually helping me to expand what it means to mentor. And I get to see things in a brand new way through a new person, which is you. But then you learn stuff from me because I've already kind of done some things. I've done things, I'm failed at them, and I started some more things and I kept them going and I was consistent. All right. So you're learning what that kind of looks like and then filtering from my life what you can pull into yours. So I didn't want that point to kind of come across. And so it seems like you're having a good experience with that. You tell people how far we've come. I know we're about to go in session number 7, I think. Isn't this going to
how
be, I
far
think
we've
this is
come.
session number 7. That's gonna
Yes.
be,
So,
yeah. And so walk people through what all we did. Don't worry, I'll
yeah,
fill in the blanks if you forget something.
yeah, please do. Yes. So I'm anxious to hear what you learned from me during this conversation.
Yeah, yeah,
So what took place actually was, and I'm gonna speak from the title is, I don't know how to pronounce that correctly. Ideal stage to
yeah,
the reality stage. What
correct.
took place in between. So initially, when the mentoring session started, as you know, it went into coaching because
Yeah,
we highlighted. Okay, first, it was trying to identify my brand. Like, how do you want people to see you? And that's very critical, I think, before you even do anything, because how you're perceived is going to determine how people interact with you. The type of your brand is everything.
yeah, it is.
You know, things can tarnish it or hurt it.
Yeah,
So, first coaching session was kind of generating ideas. Okay, I didn't even had no idea for peer merge. It wasn't in my scope. It wasn't. I just knew I wanted to do something. So you highlighted, you started the why process. Okay, why do you want to do this? How are you going to do this? And do you have the steps to accomplish it?
hmm.
That's what the reoccurring thing was in my head. And then we went on the second session. He was like, okay. I mean, it was very. I don't want to use the
What did
word.
you think about that session? Was that a good session? Was it hard? What was going on in your mind? Because we never had this conversation. What was going on in
I
your
didn't
mind
know
when we were having that first session?
what was going on in my mind. We had that first session. I actually did not know what to expect because for one, I never had a coach.
Okay.
I didn't have, I really didn't understand the definition. I'm used to counseling. So
Okay.
usually the counseling the counselor guides the conversation, you respond. But when in life coaching, uh, you're looking for me to engage in the conversation because it's
Yeah.
based off what I'm trying to accomplish. The conversation was great. It was interesting. I have my notes, but I do remember you trying to get me to understand what it is I was trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what do you want to gain from coaching? That was
Was it
definitely
uncomfortable?
um uh I wouldn't say not really. It was challenging,
Okay.
meaning it required you to think.
Okay.
And not in
Good.
a bad way. It's just thought provoking stuff that I necessarily may not have considered when trying to do something. A lot of people say, I want to start a business. I want to do this, I want to do that. And
Yeah.
it sounds good at first until you start hitting these barriers and then you have to address them. And we address them through through our sessions. You know,
Yeah.
starting with he said, do you have a template for your business plan? I said, I have a smaller one. So we went through the lean business plan
Yeah.
and wrote out every section, as far as the products and the services, the taglines, the uh what type of tier services you're going to offer. Um, how are you getting clients? How are you promoted? What are the define how you're going to provide the service that you say you're going to provide.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to say it, but then when you actually get a client, things you can make adjustments on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then filling out the LLC paperwork for your respective state. Doing that part, getting the information, applying for an EIN number, and excuse me, uh, from that process, the financial part. I think that's the stage we at now, and you telling me to keep up with your receipts because this is going to help you with your taxes down the line. So I
Yeah.
have like 5 different receipt folders for each different type,
Yeah.
and what was very good was business success schedule that's in your book. What's the name of that book again?
A
Tell them the
simple.
name. The one.
Yep. Thank you. I normally have to do this part. Yeah. Yeah. A simple systems engineering guide for success. Yeah.
And that book laid out several examples
Yeah.
on, and I'm speaking solely to the simple success budget because it gives you a visual line out how much stuff
Let's say it
costs in the
again.
business.
Let's say it again because I think it's very important. A
It
simple
gives you
success budget. I want
simple
people
success.
listening to this to actually hear that. I'll tell you why. But keep going.
Yes, it's simple success budget. And what
Mhm.
I learned from that, I didn't know how much stuff cost until I wrote it down and scaled it out.
Yeah.
So, oh, I'm paying this a year for this. I'm paying this year for this. I'm paying this. And you told me how to scale it in different time frames.
Yeah.
So some expenses are indefinite. They're always going to be there. Some are more finite, meaning they'll stop
Mm.
after, after you accomplish the mission, like the business cards. That was
Yeah.
written in there as well. I got to update mine. But that's things of that nature to try to get me to understand through the sessions that this is a process.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a
Absolutely.
process that has to be learned in order you to optimize the best type of service you can provide. Because
Yeah.
you have to stand out. Yeah.
You
So
asked
I hope
me,
that is
you were saying you wanted to know what I learned from you since we're in a mentoring mentee relationship. And I said the best ones are the relationships that people learn from each other. I'm sorry, I have a
say more because
co-pilot. I have a co-pilot.
she in the building.
Uh,
Well, all the action.
what I learned is um so this is why it's good for people to enter into these arrangements where if you have something to offer to society, then give back through things like mentoring and coaching and things of that nature. I think like when we started working together, this helps me really to figure out, well, what am I going to do next? Right? Like, in my business, because you help me to uncover gaps that sometimes I forget about. Um, like when sometimes I forget about the fact that when, people are starting a business, they have to make this mindset shift that I've already done it, right? So then I'll forget that I've already kind of shifted to think a certain way, and then I don't want to lose touch with what it feels like for businesses to start up again, because that startup phase, even though like at the core it's the same, over time it changes slightly because you have like new applications, you have new ways of doing things, the laws change and all of that. So like through working with you, I get to sort of go through the refreshers of what that looks like to start a business at this time, opposed to like 15,
Yes.
20 years ago, you know what I mean? And then also you help to remind me of the mindset shift that I think sometimes people forget about when they're so busy with their lives and their businesses. When we talked about this, I see you said you work for the city of Dallas and you kind of monitor some things that's going on. So I feel like you have a sense of like how businesses run through corporate and things of that nature. And every industry is experiencing this, right? There's always like a gap that exists where when a process has or leadership has they've gotten to a certain level, they sort of forget how to connect with the people coming into the organization, right? So working with you helps me to fill gaps like that. So I end up learning. I end up learning how that gap is still there and people have to still respond to it because otherwise that gap is gonna widen. I just had this conversation with another person today, like with even with these companies, when you have seasoned people in a company, if that knowledge isn't being captured somehow, I don't know, like in a automated way or something like that, then when that knowledge set leaves out the door, new people coming in, they can't help to build the company or the business or the enterprise the same way because that gap exists. And I don't know if enough people are paying attention to it. So you help me to pay attention to that. And then when I go out into the world, believe it, I have these conversations with other people, like running other businesses, right? So, so that helps me to keep a tab on that. So that's how I kind of learn from you, through our mentoring sessions. So it should be mutually beneficial. And I know sometimes, even when I think you probably notice, sometimes we go into those sessions and you're asking me a question, but then I'm countering your question, right? So that we can have a fruitful, productive conversation, right?
Mhm.
So that's what I think that's what I'll kind of learn from our sessions. I'm glad you find them productive. Like I said, I just wanted to jump on camera with you and then introduce you and your experience on camera. For those of you who are watching this, I think we want to turn this into an experience that I think neither Anthony or I see enough of. There's definitely room in the world to have more conversations around this about like how we can pour into each other and help each other and build us up. I also believe that sometimes you see a person and one day they're at point A and then the next time you see them, a year from now, you see them at, you know, point Z. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that happened in the middle from going to A to Z that can empower people. And if we don't have these types of conversations and capture them and even highlight some people that are going through these things, we're gonna kind of not meet the need of the gap I just talked to you about, right? So that's kind
No,
of what I wanted to do with this conversation. I don't know, did you want to share anything else?
I'm not. We capture it. I thank you very much for pouring in and filling those gaps because people typically run from the gap because it's just sometimes there's a lot of disconnect there. And as men in this society we live in, the challenges we face, and it's a
Yeah,
bunch. It's especially within our own culture. It's you got to get it for yourself. And when you become successful, then I'll engage with you. And I hate that mindset. You got to be involved in the journey. And if you have information or a way to help somebody, why not do so?
yeah,
Because as he says, you strengthen me, I strengthen you. both our success simultaneously is going to bleed into each other. And thank you for helping me change that mindset. What I mean,
Yeah,
far as going from a worker to an operator, if
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah, it does. It
It's a,
does. Yeah, just that,
Mhm.
just full awareness again before we kind of wrap this conversation. What we're doing with your business is honoring your power of networking. That's what we're doing,
Yes,
right? We're helping you to package the power of networking. It should have been very obvious when we started this conversation that you're a networker, because that's the exact way that we met. You networked and you were very proactive about it. But
yes,
we're gonna package that, and so that's how Peer Merge emerged, right? So, I think we're gonna kind of follow your journey, and then
yes.
maybe kind of monitor, if some people see this video and they have some more questions or whatever, we'll do our best to answer the questions. But again, I think this journey is so powerful because what has come out of our mentoring sessions is that you see the power in something that you had previously taken for granted, right?
Yes,
That's nothing that's no different than anything that I have experienced.
correct.
It's
Yes.
been the same. I just had to do a mindset switch and understand that I have these things in my tool belt that come naturally for me, and I have to figure out how to package that. And we're doing the same thing for you. Yeah,
You
yeah,
told me
we're
that.
doing the same
You
thing.
told
Yeah,
me
we're doing the same thing for you. But this same exercise that we're going through, really, I think everybody should be going through it. I just think that sometimes they need to work with people who can help them along the way through that same journey. So,
yes.
we're gonna follow your progress, continue to tell people about Peer Merge. If y'all want to find out more about Peer Merge so that you can see how we went from ideation phase to putting some things out there for implementation, just go to peermerge.com. So that's www.peermerge.com. And then you'll learn more about Anthony. You'll see his website and you'll see his brand. If you want to know more about me, then you go to plurapreneur.com. And that is my coaching brand dedicated to life, business, and brand coaching and mentoring. All right, so we're gonna wrap there, Anthony, and then we're gonna come up with some more progress and then do another post.
That was perfect. Thanks for
All right.
having me.
Yeah, no problem. You take care.